Hello, I'm Tibor from Boomla. Let's talk about spacing in the Visual Designer. I'm opening the designer and let's select this element. We are going to style that. And so spacing is basically adding space outside or inside an element. To better visualize it, let me add the border first. So border, maybe add a 1 pixel. Yeah, maybe add a 1 pixel border. It can be black for now, it's fine. Okay. Again, I select this element, and so margin is the outer spacing. So if you drag this margin here, you can see that you are adding space outside it. Now, if you drag it with the mouse, it will jump on a predefined scale. This helps you achieve a more even look. You can also speed things up by using some modifier keys. For example, right now I'm just dragging one side, but if I hold Shift, if I hold Control or the equivalent on Mac, you will see that the opposite side is dragged as well or changed as well. Or if you press, well, Alt in my case on Windows, or whatever in your case, if you're using Mac, figure out, then you can set all the sides at once. All right. As for padding, it's the inner spacing. So again, you can just drag it or use Shift to set the opposite side as well, or Alt to set all the sides at once. It's very common to use 16 pixels inside, and as for margins, you often don't need it. If you don't need it, you can either just come here, select it and hit delete, or use this drop down to remove those values. Okay. If you want to use a different unit, you can use this drop down and change to something else. Pixel is highlighted because it's the most common value for this this input. You can use percentage if you want, or various other units. You can just Google, like if you find something that you don't understand in Designer and it is about either units or any of the styles here. These are so the designer is using the Turbo CSS language, which is the design language of Boomla. You can either search in the Turbo CSS documentation, or you can also Google it, or you can simply Google for CSS, because in the end, Turbo CSS is just a language that simplifies writing CSS. So under the hood, it is CSS that is generated after all. So for any of the properties, if you're interested and you can't find it, just Google for example, if there is flex item and you want to know what this flex grow thing is, you would Google Turbo CSS flex grow. If you don't find the information you're looking for, then you can search CSS flex grow, and they will explain what it does and how it works. Okay, yeah, and if you want to enter a concrete value, you can hold Shift, and then the predefined jumping scale will be ignored, and you can then drag the values by ones. Yeah, you can also enter values by hand. So this is roughly spacing. Another notable thing is that if you apply a background color, it will cover the inner space, so it will cover the padding as well, and it will cover the border, like it will go under the border, which is relevant if you use maybe a dashed border. Let's use a dashed border everywhere, and let's make it a little bit bigger. Maybe actually use something, sorry, 20, something much bigger, so that it becomes evident if I added a background color of maybe whatever, red. You can see that the background color flows under the border, but it doesn't cover the margins. So if I add some margin here, you will see the background doesn't cover it. So that's all you need to know about spacing.